Pivot a little bit into. I saw you make a tweet earlier about you staked all your Hedron for ICOSA. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it so? Why do you maybe talk a little bit about why do you believe in ICOSA? Like, what makes it different than everything else there is to put your money into? What? If you have any comments on that, what do you think about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm the type of person that I'll kind of go broad and then I'll zoom in. I believe in not losing money, okay, or losing very little money. And Warren Buffett says it best, and I think even Richard Hart has talked about it many times too. I don't like to lose money. I don't like to nuke the account. So I look for yield-bearing projects that can compound over time. So you look at something like WATSA, that's kind of like an automatic compounding feature because as people get out, your share of the pool is going to increase. The other thing that I really like about WATSA that immediately just popped in my head, I said, there's going to be most people, 90% of people are paper handed. I hate to say it, but that's just the truth. All right.
Well, we see how many people were staked in Hex the last few months.
Exactly, dude. So I'm like, wow, what an opportunity to go head to head with these paper handed people. I'm going to hold that as long as possible. I'm not going to tell you how long I'm going to hold it, but I'm going to be one of the last people to hold that damn thing. And I know I'm going to beat all those people out. So for me, it's like I'm betting on myself with that. I really, really like that feature. So what do I look for? And I'll just kind of give you my philosophy around this. I look for brand new tokens that have solid devs or founders, strong communities, projects that have kind of like a mission and a purpose that makes sense to me. So with regards to Hedron, with regards to ICOSA, with regards to WATSA, what Alex has done, he has complemented Hex in a really, really, really big way. Okay. He's created a sync for Hex, but simultaneously created a really, really cool tool in Hedron. And I think that I think it's definitely worth people's time and attention because a successful Hex ultimately also means a very successful Hedron and also means a very successful, ICOSA. But here's the cool thing too. Successful Hedron and ICOSA also means a very successful Hex the other way around because it's a Hex sync. So it just works very, very well. If I'm not in the business of losing money, if I'm worried about the founders, if I like the founders, if I like the community, if it has a mission and a purpose, and if I can get in very, very early, it's pretty much a no-brainer to me. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel. It's kind of how I feel about it, generally speaking. Now, the cool thing too is Alex has done something that I'm not sure that anybody else does, and he's encapsulated a Hex stake, right? So he's giving the ability for people to encapsulate non-JPEG value and transfer it across the blockchain. I think that's the first time it's been done in the world. I don't know of any other time where that's happened, right? That's really, really cool. That's really, really awesome. And that's worth mentioning. And that's worth, in my opinion, investing in.
Yeah, it's something that I talked to a crypto sloth about for a while, and I know he's been deep into it for months now. Mm-hmm. And I had my reservations, I'll admit, and I didn't really understand ICOSA. I didn't understand. I had heard of WhatsApp, but maybe a few weeks ago. But it was just so. I think I had reservations because I didn't think anyone else would understand it. So I was like, man, this stuff is like it's complex in a way, but it's beautiful. Once you do understand it, it's just this beautiful positive feedback loop
synergy
system.
Yeah,
the synergy is incredible. And once you start staking it and you start looking at those numbers, you're like, wow, this is and it makes sense in price per. We'll see what happens price performance over time, but I don't know. I'm at the point where I feel like I understand it well enough where I'm like, prove that it's not going to be amazing. Like, prove that it's not going to outperform and pump Hex and just do all of these positive things for the blue chips and the ecosystem that I really care about. So I would encourage everyone to look into it. My mind's going to be blown for a long time, especially if you understand the mechanics of Hex. and then you see what it does and what it offers. Sloth was right all along. I no shame in saying that.
Dude, I took a lot of shit, man, and I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit, but I took a lot of shit in the beginning. I think I was one of the first people to interview Alex about Hedron. I might have been number 1 or number 2, and I told my community, everybody in Hex, and then you had some folks come out, some big folks come out against Hedron. Everybody was just bashing this guy, and I'm having personal conversations. They're like, yeah, it's not a dev team, it's just one dude, you know, he's not special, blah 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 blah. And they're like, oh, I know. And they're like, look at the price chart. And I'm like, guys, you got to zoom out of this group think. The thing here is, if you want a successful project in this ecosystem, here's the truth. People might like it, people might not. All you have to do is convince, like, let's say 100 people represent our whole community, just to boil it down very simply. All you have to do is convince 5 or 10 people at the top that it's a good project, and then everybody else will buy in if they get the endorsement, right? And there weren't many people that were endorsing Hedron. I said, guys, this is going to run. This is going to run hard. We're in a bear market. Everything is dropping. Hedron just launched in a bear market. Alex is giving away free value. These people are dumping this token. It's not going to dump forever. You got to understand that these are the best prices to get into it.
Well, that was hard to understand in the beginning, because the whale is dumping forever narrative before ICOSA, before WhatsApp, that's a merit. But now it's kind of like, ooh, I think we got some better fundamentals going on to overcome that. Even when, you know, I think the tweet was, I was talking to, I forget who, on Twitter, and they were like, you know, I think whoever it was, they said, I'm not worried about hex wells anymore. And I was like, that is a really good point. Or should we still be worried about hex wells with Hedron? With the new system, I don't know.
There's going to be people who dump price all day, but guess what? This is the golden rule. I've looked at literally thousands of charts since 2000. Probably I started looking at charts in 2016, 2017. Looked at thousands, right? What happens? Just about every single time, with a few exceptions, you're going to see a dump for probably 90 to 120 days. 90 to 120 days. It shakes the people out that don't want to be there. And then after that, you got the believers. And if you have a strong community, he's got a lot of good people. The other thing that I like about Hedron, the people that are surrounding Alex and the people that are helping out in that community are extremely intelligent. All right. And they're people that care about the community. It's a different feel. Every community kind of has its own personality. And I like the intellectual side, and I like the feeling of you know, helping your fellow neighbor out. And I get that feeling over there. That's another thing that I think is a pumpamental, though it's not, those types of things aren't very tangible. I think they're extremely important. That will carry that project very far into the future, especially as we go into this bull run, whenever that may be. It might be 6 months from now. It might be 3 years from now. We don't know. But that's going to help things a lot.
Well, maybe that's a pattern to look for too. It's a good point of, are there a lot of intelligent people who, regardless of the broader sentiment, are sticking with the founder, sticking with the project, who are talking a lot about it? You know, I know there's a lot of people in the community who, you know, some of them are just influencers, some of them are devs, some of them are kind of in the middle. They're just inquisitive people who like to study and research and produce content, you know, sloths, URFX, people like that too. But maybe that's a pattern too. If you see a lot of people who you know, was Dixon Piper said, if you're for branding on Twitter in particular too, you better be funny or smart. You better have some substance to share, or you better be really funny if you want to grow your brand. Whoever you see in those categories of people that you follow, if you see them gravitating towards a project, even if the price looks terrible, you may want to watch that one.
Yeah, it makes people. Well, I'll say two things. The first thing I want to say, and I'm going to kind of use a fishing analogy we've heard before, but in a different way. So if you took 10 people and you put blindfolds all on those 10 people, and you took them to the river, and you had 10 fishing poles, and all you said is to stick your hand out, right? And you bait the line, and you tie the hook on and do all that type of stuff. And you just hand them the pole, and you say, just leave it out there and you're going to catch something. And they catch it. And you bring them back every day for a week, and you do the same thing. All right. They haven't seen how you do all the intricacies. They haven't seen you tie the knot. They haven't seen you what you do with the bait. They haven't seen how you throw the fishing lure in the water, or how far out. All right. But here's the thing: when you have a strong community, it's the equivalent of taking the blindfolds off of all those people. Alex was the one originally. He's throwing that thing in there, right? And he's helping getting the fish, but nobody knows how he does it. If you got smart people in there that are good teachers, it's like taking the blindfolds off. Those people learn how to do it, and then they teach the people behind them and teach the people behind them. So instead of a community where you have a single point of failure in terms of being able to communicate what the project is, you have a whole battalion and army of raving fanatical fans that can go out there and shill this. And the second part is the advantage of this is Hedron and ICOSA make things very, very sticky, right? We don't want capital leaving the ecosystem. We want it staying in. So that's also a huge, huge part of this. So it makes everybody very, very sticky to the RH ecosystem.
I didn't know when he was going to finish. I just didn't want to lose this thought. But the compounding gratitude you talked about, like teaching people how to fish, and then them that just compounding over time and making it into, you know, reputable people in the community who may go off and build their own products, or at least be able to have, you know, be very well established patrons for the project that you're releasing. That is, nobody talks about that. Like if you're able to compound gratitude like that, the community is going to grow so much better.
That's exactly it, man. That's what it's all about. The chart is it's charted human behavior. The chart can also be a little bit of manipulation, but what's the chart really? It's an indication. It's the result of all the actions that your community is taking. And I think that Hedron's chart, and I think that ICOSA's chart and all that's going to be very, very strong. And I'm happy to say, and I'm going to brag to say that right now, even if it drops 60%, I'm still way on board. And I think it's going to be extremely successful. Please clip this and play this in about 3 or 4 years, buddy.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it'll be clipped, and hopefully it'll be played. I can guarantee it'll be clipped. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that I couldn't get over on ICOSA and when Hedron before ICOSA step 2 was, again, it's just so complicated for your average crypto Joe. You know, it's just like people they need to watch like 6 videos to understand it, and people already, you know, they want the easy way. Give me the price go up narrative. Give it to me real quick. Don't make me think about positive feedback loop, all this stuff. I'm not that way. I want to know the gory details, but even for me, it took a while to get this stuff, being, you know, I have engineering type background and stuff too. And a system like that, I was just skeptical. Like, are people actually going to get into this? Like, are we going to be able to have enough critical mass for it to lift off and for it to become something on its own and just kind of like come into its own as a product? And it's proven it. The launch of, I think, you know, Hedron took a while. Some people were in it, some people weren't. And then when ICOSA started, just maybe a week or two before it came out, the light bulb just went off and everyone was just gravitated towards this particular product. And now you see that it's up and running and you can stake and you can do all these things. You're like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is like, and I just didn't think there'd be that many. You see how many NFTs, how many watts it? It's like 9,000 watts.
Yeah, 9,000 now, something like that.
Like in what, 3 days? That many NFTs have been minted. It's just like, I don't know what kind of expectations people had, but it blew mine away for sure.